first assume that the foreign exchange market dollar exchange rate of dollar is high. The price of dollar is high. Exchange rate means price of the dollar. So what happened? Exports to the US, to the China, you are here. Increasing imports because dollar value is high. Chinese product looks more, cheaper to US citizens, so imports start rising. On the other hand, what is happening to dollar and yuan in case when the exchange rate is high? Imports are more. When imports are more, then demand of yen is high. Why? Because imports are high, so people are basically buying more from China, so selling their dollars and buying. Who creates demand? Buyers. So buyers are buying more yuan to pay for Chinese products. So demand for yen rises. Or demand for vice versa, demand for dollar start decreasing. One currency demand rises, other decreases. Exchange rate means if exchange rate in US is rising, it means exchange rate of yuan is decreasing. It's vice versa. It can never happen both start rising. No. Right? So what happened to the exports? After some time, demand of the dollar decreases, value of the dollar decreases. On the other hand, the next scenario. Exchange rate of dollar decreases. Scenario 2. Exports start rising. Exports start rising, right? Dollar start decreasing. Imports are decreasing. What happened in exports? Dollar. So who creates the demand for dollar? Because who are buying? Chinese are buying. So when Chinese are buying, they are selling. They are buying dollar and they are selling yuan. So dollar demand starts rising. So this loop continues. Right? So that's why government should not interfere in the foreign market, especially foreign exchange market. Why? Because exchange rate correct the imbalance of trade deficit for some time. Understand? Tiffany, understand? Okay. Lancelot, understand?
Yes, sir.
Sufyan, understand?
Yes, sir.
Mar, Oliver?
Yeah, understood.
Yes, sir.
EGA?
Yeah.
Do we have a Dayon? Yes, Dayon, understand?
Yes.
Good. Now, sometimes why exchange rate may not correct the balance of trade deficit. Now we just talk about the exchange rate may correct the balance of trade deficit. This is completely opposite, right? Then why in some countries it's not correcting itself? So exchange rates will not automatically correct any international trade imbalance when other forces are at work. Number one, since the United States normally experience a large balance of trade deficit in the international flow of funds, the international flow of funds place downward pressure on the value of dollar. It's not like we have this only one, only two countries in the world, US and China. We have others as well. Plus, how much is the magnitude of trade deficit? Like we just talk about $200 billion, and this book is like in 3, but now it is more than $400 billion, more than $400 billion. So in that case, it doesn't work because the imports are too much than the exports. So it takes more time to correct the balance of, to correct the value of exchange rate to correct itself. Yet in many periods, there are more financial flows into the United States to purchase securities than the financial outflow. Other reason, is interest and securities. All the money is going to the, so this is the forex market. It means dollar and yuan is going to be traded. So what happened, even though the dollar has a higher value, so what happened, we are importing more, right? When we are importing more, it places a downward pressure on dollar to decrease. On the other hand, Chinese are investing in security market to buy shares and bonds in the US market. Ideally, the demand for dollar should decrease because we increase the demand for yuan because we have to pay for Chinese products. We are selling our, or sorry, we are throwing our dollars away in exchange of more yuan. So we buy more yuan, yuan prices increases, so dollar price should decrease. But in that case, it's not happening. Why? Because more than we order to the, we imports or we order to the Chinese products, more capital is coming to the US financial markets in the form of stocks and bonds. Government need funds, the Chinese are providing loans. When Chinese are providing loans, they need to convert yuan into dollar because US government needs dollars. So in that case, the exchange rate is not converting itself back to normal. So these forces can offset the downward pressure on the dollar value. So that's why still we see that dollar value is start rising, not correcting itself. Why? Because we know that the New York Stock Exchange is giving more, dividends, and their bonds are giving more good coupon rates, interest rates. So on the other hand, we are, the other countries are exporting to the US plus also investing in the US stock exchange. So this kind of offsetting relationship occurs and still the dollar value is on the rise. Understand? Everyone? PD?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Can you explain again why an investment in a country can put downward pressure on the dollar?
No. Why investment in US, right?
Does it? Yeah.
What is your question?
If China invests in the US stock market,
Okay.
doesn't it provide more inflow than outflow?
Yes, but I'm talking about demand and supply of the currencies. Let's talk about the investment. So Chinese are investing in US. So they are not sending goods. They are supplying their yuan, converting them into dollars. So it means demand for dollar rises. Right? Oliver.
Right.
Right? So in that case, so this is a case of investments. Previously, the case of exchange rate of dollar start rising. So in this case, we are offsetting it through imports rising, which causes dollar to decrease. But why it's not correcting itself towards decrease? because more funds are invested in US, in SEC, Security and Exchange, or NY, New York Stock Exchange, NY, what would you call stock exchange? NYSC, New York Stock Exchange, NYSE. So in that case, Chinese are investing in US as well. What does it mean? Chinese are converting their yuan and causing demand of dollar because they want to buy dollars more. So in that case, they demand more. So the amount of imports are far less than the investments in the US. So in that case, or equal to in US, so that case, this impact cancel each other. Why? Because imports causes exchange rate of dollar to decrease and investment causes exchange rate dollar to increase. So that's why this causes offset situation in the country. Oliver, now you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you understand that, so let's do this question. So I'm going to make a group. So what are the rules for breakout room? So whenever you go to the breakout room, please turn on your video and also turn off your mute button of microphones because you need to talk to others. So let me just read that. Those who are watching online, so please pause the video here and try to read the question and answer it. And then, we'll talk about its solution, but we are not recording the breakout room activities. So I'm going to be stopping the recording here. Okay, I will be resuming after once we finish our breakout room activity. So let's read that. So free trade, there has been a considerable momentum to reduce or remove trade barriers in the effect to achieve free trade. Yet one disgruntled executive of an exporting firm said, free trade is not conceivable. We are always at the mercy of exchange rate. Any country can use this mechanism to impose trade barriers. What does this statement means? So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to discuss, and I'm going to be going to each and every group here and listen the answer. This is not the class activity, written class activity. This is just the oral discussion. Okay. So meanwhile, I'm setting up the breakout room and pausing the video.